Okay, welcome to the Chapter 16, Section 2, the Cash Payments Journal presentation lecture. Please make sure that you have with you the notes for the remainder of Chapter 16 as well as the demo problems. You can attempt those as we go through the Section 2 material. So let's get started taking a look at transactions that are journalized in the Cash Payments Journal. First of all, what is the purpose of the Cash Payments Journal and what is it used for? It is used to record all cash transactions, in which case cash is paid or cash is decreased. The Cash Payments Journal, as on this slide, has a bunch of different columns that will be used when transacting these transactions. First, there is a general debit and general credit column. These are used to enter the debits and credits to the general ledger accounts that there are no special columns designated to. The last three columns then are going to be accounts that have columns designated to them. So we have accounts payable, which will always be a debit because in the Cash Payments Journal, cash is always a credit. And then also the purchases discount credit. Sometimes if we purchase something for cash, we would then transact that in the in the Cash Payments Journal, and we would take advantage of a purchases discount. And then finally, the last column, which is the purpose of this journal, is the cash in bank credit. So anytime that any transaction is journalized in the Cash Payments Journal, there will be a cash decrease or a cash credit. Let's take a look at a sample transaction. So on December 17th, On Your Mark paid $1,500 to Keystone Insurance Company for the premium on a 6-month insurance policy. So this transaction would get journalized in the Cash Payments Journal. So we would have on December 1st, 2017, document number 1001. Now, any document, source document, that is going to be recorded in the Cash Payments Journal is most likely always going to be a check. So in this case, this is check 1001. The account that's going to be debited is prepaid insurance, in this case for $1,500. And a cash credit for $1,500. Let's take a look at another transaction. Recording a cash purchase of merchandise. Now, when we hear merchandise, we automatically think purchases. Don't get confused because sometimes you might think purchases means purchases journal. However, that is not the case. The only time that we are going to utilize the purchases journal is if we are journalizing a purchase on account. If we are journalizing a purchase of merchandise for cash, then it goes in the Cash Payments Journal. So in this example, on December 19th, On Your Mark purchased merchandise from Fastlane Athletics, $1,300, check 1002. So on the 19th, document number 1002, the account that's going to be debited is purchases. That account still does get debited, even though we are not transacting it in the purchases journal. So that would be a general debit for $1,300 and a cash credit for $1,300. And for this particular transaction, there is no discount, therefore there is no number listed in the purchases discount credit. Okay, the next type of transaction that we might record in the Cash Payments Journal is recording a payment on account. So for this transaction, on December 24th, On Your Mark paid $2,254 to Pro Runner Warehouse for merchandise purchased on account, $2,300, less the discount of $46. Check written was number 1003. So we put the date in there, the 24th, document number 1003, indicating the check number, the account name. This is the account payable to who we are paying, Pro Runner Warehouse. And in this case, we are going to debit the accounts payable for the amount of the invoice, which was $2,300. Then we are going to account for a $46 discount, meaning that we only have to send a check in for $2,254. That is going to be the cash credit. Okay. Now, recording other cash payments. Let's say, for example, that we have to take care of a freight charge. So on December 24th, On Your Mark issued check 1004 for $275 to Dara's Delivery Service for shipping charges on merchandise purchased from Sportslink Footwear. So in the Cash Payments Journal on the 24th, document number 1004, account name, remember transportation in is the account that we use to take care of our service, not our service charges, our shipping charges. We would then debit that account for $275 and credit cash and bank for $275. Now, payroll. Remember this, we have to go back to chapter 13. So you got to kind of think back a little bit. On December 31st, on your mark, wrote check 1012 for $2,974 to pay the payroll of $4,000. $4,000 is the gross earnings for the pay period ended December 31st. The following amounts were withheld from the employees: federal income tax, employee state income tax, Social Security tax, and Medicare tax. So for this transaction, on the 31st, check number 1002, we are going to debit salaries expense for the gross pay, $4,000. We are then going to credit all of the withholdings or the deductions. These are the liabilities. Employees federal income tax payable, credit, $640. Employee state income tax payable, credit, $80. Social Security tax payable, credit, $248. Medicare tax payable, credit, $58. And then the cash and bank credit is going to be the net pay, which is $2,974, which is also $4,000 minus all of the deductions. So now if we do the math backwards, if we add up all of the credits, all of these credits are going to equal $4,000, our transaction balances. We can move on to the next transaction. Now, you might also have to record a bank service charge. Remember, bank service charges are recorded as miscellaneous expense. So on December 31st, on your mark, recorded a bank service charge of $20 indicated on the bank statement. Now, the bank statement is not necessarily a source document that we issue ourselves or that we receive from vendors. Therefore, on the 31st, we are not going to put anything in here for the document number because the bank statement is something that we receive on a monthly basis from the bank. If it helps you for recording purposes, to help you as you go through these different transactions, you can go ahead and put BS in there for bank statement of your for your source document. That would be fine. The month that it's transacted in would indicate which month bank statement it's coming from, so that wouldn't be an issue. So we would then take miscellaneous expense and debit it for $20 and credit cash and bank for $20. Now, bank card fees. If we have to pay bank card fees, we are going to utilize an account called bank card fee expense. On December 31st, on your mark, recorded the bank card fee of $75 that appeared on the bank statement. So again, we have a bank statement source document that's going to be needed and used in order to transact this transaction correctly. So on the 31st, document number is blank, but you can put BS in there if that helps. Bank card fee expense is going to be the account that we are using in this transaction. We will debit that account for $75 and then credit cash and bank for $75. So demo problem 17.4 takes you through a couple of examples of these different transactions that we looked at. So please go ahead and attempt problem 17.4. Otherwise, we will be working on this together next time we meet in class. Now, just like the other journals, there's also posting that takes place. Now, in the cash payments journal, we are going to be strictly working with the subsidiary ledger known as the accounts payable ledger. So if we take a look at this slide, on December 24th, we have to do a posting to ProRunner Warehouse, which is one of our vendors. Now, ProRunner Warehouse on the 14th, we are going to debit the accounts payable account for $2,300. Therefore, we post it, 24th, CP14, which is the cash payments journal page number. We debit the account for $2,300, and then we update the balance. And because it is a credit side balance account, when we debit the account, we subtract from that balance, therefore making the balance now 0. It was previously $2,300. With this posting of this transaction, takes the account balance to 0. Go ahead and try problem 17.5, which is posting a transaction to the accounts payable ledger. And we will be working on this problem also next time we meet in class. All right, other individual postings that will have to take place within the cash payments journal is the posting of the general debit and general credit column. So on December 17th, we transacted a transaction in which we had paid $100 or $1,500 to our insurance premiums, account used as prepaid insurance. Therefore, we find prepaid insurance in our general ledger. We would date the transaction and when it took place. We would then post-reference the journal it came from, CP14, list the debit amount of $1,500, and then update the balance. Previous balance was 0, new balance is $1,500. Totaling and ruling the cash payments journal, just like all of the other journals, we do this at the end of the month. On the 31st, we are going to write the word totals and then total up all of the columns. Now, when it comes to the column totals, any number listed in the general debit or general credit column were posted individually. Therefore, these total numbers will not be posted. They've already been posted to the individual accounts. However, the accounts payable debit column total, the purchases discount column total, and the cash and bank credit column total will have to get posted as totals to the general ledger. But first, totaling and ruling the journal is, again, putting the single rule indicating a calculation, calculating out the column totals, and then double ruling underneath indicating all calculations have been completed. So then posting to the cash payments or from the cash payments journal to the general ledger, similar to what we've done in the other problems, in the other chapters, and the other journals, we take the column totals, 201 for this case is accounts payable, our controlling account, post that into the general ledger account, and update the balance. Then we do the same thing for purchases discounts and cash and bank. Take the number, put it in the proper ledger in the proper spot, do the math, update the balance. Problem 17.6 is going to take us through and give us a chance to practice proving and ruling the cash payments journal as well as posting those totals into the general ledger. Now, proving the accounts payable subsidiary ledger is at the end of the month, just like we did for the accounts receivable ledger. We're going to take the balance of accounts payable and compare it and make sure it equals the balances of all of our subsidiary accounts that we owe money to. So to prove, we are going to prepare what's known as a schedule of accounts payable, which is going to is a report listing each creditor and the balance of their account. The total of the amount owed to all creditors should equal the accounts payable balance in our general ledger. So a schedule of accounts payable would look like this. Here is the schedule. Here is the total that the schedule of accounts payable has given us after adding up all the numbers. And notice how it matches the accounts payable general ledger controlling account balance. If this is the case, chances are the schedule and the postings of the accounts payable account are correct. Now, preparing a cash proof with the cash payments journal to indicate that our journalized transactions are correct. This is a process of verifying that the cash recorded in the account record agrees, and the account records agrees with the amount entered in the checkbook. So beginning cash balance in the general ledger, cash received from the debit side of the cash receipts journal. We're going to add the two lines, subtract cash payments, and then compare to figure in the last check stub to make sure that those numbers match. So total cash debits subtracted out total cash credits, that number should equal the next number that we have on the check stub in our checkbook. So the cash proof would look like this. Here's the beginning cash balance. Here is the amount of cash received, cash receipts journal, the subtotal, cash deducted from the cash payments journal, cash paid, ending cash balance is $15,179. And if that's the same number as our check stub balance, we are in good shape. The cash proves. All right, so this concludes the Section 2 presentation lecture for Chapter 16. Please make sure that you review the slides if needed, attempt those demo problems, and I'll see you next time we meet in class to go over those demo problems and get some independent practice problems as well.